Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dynamite channel. I'm Chipper.
I'm Romina.
Today, we'll be covering the special episode of One Piece.
Dr. Chopper's Adventure Checkup, the Ballad of a Father and Daughter.
Yeah, and I should have known last week that it was a special episode because I saw the backstory. I thought we were going into Kuma's backstory, but it turned out just to be kind of a recap. I guess they wanted us to understand some of the dynamics and then the past that the Straw Hats had with Kuma, so that when they continue it on later on in episode 1129, it'll have a little more meaning to you.
Yes, I fully expected to learn about the sad past or the cause for the saddest memory in the lab, and instead was really cute. It started with Carrot and Chopper and the transponder snail and trying to figure out what was happening with the video, and then their little interactions are always so cute. And then we literally a nice review of Kuma, of Bonnie, of the connection between Kuma and the Straw Hats, to get us ready for the depressing episode that will be next.
I was about to say, if you were looking forward to that, just wait. Don't you worry, it's coming.
It's called Kuma's Past, Better Off Dead in This World.
Yeah, like in Japanese, it was like Kuma no Kako, like the Kuma's Past, but then it's like Shinda Hoga ii Sekai, which is like it's okay to die world.
Oh no, I'm not ready for that one.
Yeah.
All right, so this is what went down. Mm-hmm. So as the cuteness of Carrot and Chopper that I love filler episodes. I like the lightheartedness as much as you can be with Kuma's story and Bonnie's story. But for some reason, it cuts to Bonnie, and then that's where we reminds us how she came in with the Straw Hats. But I feel like I need to bring something up just because it's happened. I've never brought this up on one of these episodes, but as a woman, I think it needs to be said. I mean, I don't think it's just with women, but they cut to Bonnie eating. And as many of you know, they, for some reason, always gravitate towards this, area right here, like that.
Or this area right
the
here.
Chest and literally the private parts with just spread open.
Yeah.
And that I feel like it's unnecessary. One Piece, I think, is a beautiful, intricate, deep story, and I just don't think it's needed. But I don't know. It might be.
It's interesting because there are a lot of animes or manga that are not innocent in this either. Have really similar styles, but even I think One Piece among the really popular ones, maybe has the most risque out of all of them. And I was even Rudy from Alpha Investments was in Pokemon card world. He was opening different types of Magic the Gathering cards and Pokemon cards, and then he was like, "Oh, I don't even check the One Piece cards. He opened them. He's like, "Oh my god!" Every card. He was like, "What is this?" It seemed to take him aback a little bit.
I mean, over the seasons, we've seen the transformation of the characters. And, a lot of these female characters already are of a mature age where they've developed. Mm. So it does not make sense to me that Nami, Robin, all of the women that we've seen, they really should not be changing so significantly, but they've all changed and their bodies have been a super specific type and really revealing unnecessarily.
Well, especially Robin, right? You remember when Robin
I felt
changed?
Yes.
And then there have been things that Oda even has written about, he had the diagram of how he drew the women and things that was probably problematic. But what gets me is because Bonnie is supposed to be 12 12 years old.
Yeah.
But then it's okay, well, is the actual 12-year-old version of her, because she can change her age and stuff, the little girl that they met when they when they originally saw her, And is this not her original, her 12-year-old form? Maybe that's just like an adult form that makes it easier to fight with or something like that. Because
Right.
we've seen her turn into the old lady or something. So that's what I'm going to go with until I hear otherwise. Try
Yeah.
to make some excuses for them. But
Anyways, had to bring that up. It was short, but they tend to linger in certain areas, and it's the same thing. And I don't know, it's unneeded.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. So it reminds us about Bonnie. She has the age fruit power. She she remembers that memory again with Akainu about Kuma being left with no free will, and then it goes into Kuma and who he was. So he used to be called the Tyrant, the evil king of Sorbet Kingdom.
Sorbet, yeah.
I don't think we know anything about Sorbet Kingdom.
Not
Just
yet.
that he was the king. So,
Yeah.
we'll see about that. And then it kind of somehow the where I wrote this was like, okay, evil king Sorbet Kingdom, then part of the Revolutionary Army, then being used by the government as a living weapon. Like how he made those jumps. And then, the question, is he bad? Is he good? Like, that Carrot was saying.
How many times have we seen this with Oda, though? You get some crazy, and I would argue this isn't even anywhere close to, some of the introductions before the past sequences. I mean, how many characters, though, it was just like, oh, this is like a horrible person, or oh, this is like this person, and then you go into the backstory, even like Don Flamingo.
Oh.
For example, you think about somebody like that, and then you hit the backstory, and it's like they've got you feeling bad for Don Flamingo, who was like the worst person, like the worst personality in the whole show. But yeah, it's coming. I think it's coming next week. I thought it was coming this week, but you got your stay of execution for the special episode. But I think it's going to go into his childhood first,
Yes.
and it's well, we've already seen a little piece of that when she went into his memory, right?
memory.
Like Bonnie went into his memory, and that was not positive.
Yes, and we'll go into that part too, because then it kind of leads and gives us a little more information for what we will see in the next episode.
Yeah.
So after they kind of briefly speak on Bonnie, then we go into Kuma's journey with the Straw Hats and how they were first connected. So this was after the battle with Gecko Moria, where they had been fighting for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you see this, this Kuma show up. And I remember thinking as it was happening in that episode, it brought me back. And I was thinking like, how are they going to even stand any chance right now? Like they were all completely spent.
Yeah.
Luffy was gone.
Yeah.
Like could not even, defend himself.
Kuma's so much stronger than
And he was just
Moria.
so much stronger. And I'm like, how is this going to go? And, he gave them an out and said, just leave me, I'll spare your lives. Leave me Luffy. And of course, Zoro
Oh man, yeah.
had to come in and like all the blood everywhere. And he took all of the pain
Because another
for
thing,
his captain.
another thing for about Oda is like he's gonna seize any opportunity he can to. I mean, he accomplished so many things there because it's like he puts you in a impossible situation. Like Kuma is so overpowered, they're so weak. There's no way that you can get out of this. But then somehow in his mind, he was able to write that to where Kuma starts showing like some restraint, which later on you understand why he's working with Luffy's dad. I think they even maybe
He mentioned it
Yeah. Even then, and then you get Zoro gets more character development in how dedicated he is to his captain and to the crew. And there's just like so many things that like it's just the right answer. There are like so many different ways to go, and the writing it just accomplishes like 3 or 4 different things in like one swoop.
Well, if you remember when Zoro was standing there after already being hit, I was really amazed by Sanji too. Like, they, are always fighting with each other, but even Sanji was like, "Oh no, Zoro! Like
Yeah,
this is bad.
It's bad when Sanji's feeling
when
bad
he's
for-
worried and
yeah,
feeling
for
this is
Zoro.
bad." And then so then Kuma there was was impressed. He said, "Wow, it looks like he has good companions. I would expect nothing less of Dragon Son." And so I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what happened there?
Well, yep.
Dragon."
Yeah, exactly.
Where were you?
Yeah, one of the first mentions of Dragon too. I think.
Yeah,
in
it
the show.
was.
And but that restraint, then he shows that in Sabode as well. We thought that he was
Exactly.
like kill, like, oh no, like let me take the credit from Kizaru who was about to destroy them. And then it looked like at first glance like Kuma was just like he had even less heart than Kizaru, and okay,
Yeah.
let me take control of this. And then you find out later when he's talking to Rayleigh that he's showing compassion and restraint there too. And then
And then he says, I'm an officer of the Revolutionary Army. I want to, like, I have a connection with them. And I'm like, what connection do you, like, what's going on there? And then it, reminds us too that he was the one who protected the Sunny. So when Frankie came back to a perfectly preserved Sunny, Kuma's sitting there like messed up.
right.
And then he like just gets up and like mission accomplished and walks away.
And he was beat up.
Yes.
He was beat up defending it. And yeah, that's just kind of a little bit more character development than you don't see him for a few hundred episodes. And then,
he's popped up so much and we know very little about him.
Yeah, and you can tell that as we go on, especially when you're going into his backstory so late in the arc that, it's going to be important.
So then it reminds us of how Bonnie met the Straw Hats on Egghead Island. And she was telling them about Dr. Vegapunk because we really didn't know much about him at all, really. And, she presented him as this evil person who turned my dad into a cyborg and left him, deprived of his free will. And, Bonnie seeing her dad in this, the pacifistas, like these soldiers walking around Egghead Island attacking them, still cannot like bear the sight of seeing, that hurt, even though knowing that it's not necessarily him, it's his replica.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much it from that section.
Yeah. And, and a lot of that is just getting to, her relationship with her dad and how she was driven by that to, get revenge for him from Vegapunk. And then like Vegapunk is another person that we heard for hundreds of episodes, just like the most like irredeemable bad guy in the show.
Yeah.
And then just like how he was even bad, even when they were doing the other research and everybody was like, oh no, Vegapunk was in charge of that. That wasn't me. And then like you see Vegapunk and then now he's humanized and is actually like with them on that.
She realizes that he said, I can't tell you. I made a promise to Kuma to never tell you. And that's where she accesses memories.
Yep.
And she sees what you brought up before, right? Where it's Kuma, a young kid looks like crying, and these other little kids are basically trying to beat him up with bats, and they are beating him up, and he's crying and he's saying, "Please stop, help!" And then you get a little glimpse of where that was coming from. Then, right? You see the images of what is it called? The royal people.
The high society.
And you see that you learn that he was a slave. And we're going to hear a lot more about that.
Yeah, the celestial dragons.
Right.
But yeah, and it's coming. Whatever actual memories that spawned right there, you're going to see what actually happened probably next week, maybe in the week after. But it's it's intense. But then, she was ready to kill Vegapunk, and then Luffy had to.
She forgave him. She quickly realized that it was all Saint Saturn. And then I think she forgave him. Like even in the last episode, she's like, "Yeah, that's it. Like we're good." Like Saint Saturn.
Well, and that's something to keep in mind too, because we're talking about everything that's happening in the past. We have to remember in the present. Saint Saturn showed up, which is a big deal. It's a big deal. It was a big deal when Kuma showed up in Thriller Bark.
Yes.
And it was like, it's just somebody else that you just had.
Very powerful person.
Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of repeating itself you're getting to where there's not that many higher tiers that you can go. And Saturn's he's captured Bonnie, right? And we'll see what transpires.
And they're surrounded. Like she just stabbed him.
Yeah.
He looks, I'm fully expecting him to like be completely fine. Yeah. But then they're completely.
Oh, that's right. That's where it
they're surrounded by all of the the army, and I mean, it does not look good.
No. So yeah, I think that it's like I was just I'm trying to do this without doing any spoiler alerts, but I think that that it's going to be interesting to see how they're doing all of the current events, like them fighting him, and then going back through the past events with Kuma. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. As a father, I'm worried for, especially for you, for the next episode.
Yeah.
Or as a parent, it's going to be really difficult to watch.
Well, as a mother, happy Mother's Day, first of all. We all appreciate everything that you do, Romina. I speak for not just me, but Aliciana as well. And is there anything else you want to add to the...
No, just, I love filler episodes. I'm not annoyed by this. I really like recaps and reminders. It helps set me in place, and now I'm ready for this next episode. There's just, even in this episode, I'm just like trying to catch everything still. There's so much going on. So I really appreciate the cuteness and Chopper. And
yeah, that's the value of these episodes, these catch-up episodes, because there's so much that happened over the course of 1,100, 1,200 episodes that it's good sometimes to be like, oh yeah, I forgot that he did say that. And then it also just, it's almost them just being like, oh yeah, we mentioned it. Like 1,000 episodes ago, we mentioned it.
So intricate.
Yeah. But yeah, so tune in next week. Just some like housekeeping things. We will be in Japan for the next few episodes. So we'll be doing this from our makeshift studio in Tokyo. So yeah, thank you for watching. That'll be episode 1129. Not this one, because this was special episode 17. Yeah. But catch us there for Kuma's Past, Better Off Dead in this world. Until then, tell your mother figures that you love them and you appreciate them, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.